Welcome to the 2017 interview series. Today's interview is with Judy Hopkins. Judy and her husband Ronnie have been a member of the First Baptist Church since 1973. Your moderator today is Nick Bledsoe. Nick has been a member of the First Baptist Church since 1979.
Judy, let's you and I talk a little bit about your time here at First Baptist Church. But before we do that, I'd like to know a little bit about your background. Where were you born? Tell me a little bit about your parents, school, and that sort of thing.
Okay. I was born in 1947 in Rome, Georgia. My mother and father, Ruth and J.W. Williman, they originally were from Case Springs and moved to Rome years before I was born. I went to West Rome High School and I graduated in 1965. And what else would you like to know about that?
Oh, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I have two siblings. I have a sister, Glenda. She's 6 years older. I have a brother, Tommy. He was 4 years older, and he died at the age of 38 with a heart attack. Left behind five children. My sister has four. My sister still lives in Cedartown, and all my cousins and nieces and nephews still live in Rome.
What about your early church life?
I had a really not an exciting young life in the church. My mother was a very faithful, had a lot of faith and loved the church. But as a young child, I don't remember going a lot. Mm-hmm. But when I got into middle school, I lived just a few blocks from a church, Fifth Avenue Baptist Church. And I started going because I could walk. And I went to that church until that's where Ronnie and I were married, at the Fifth Avenue Baptist Church. So I started going as a middle schooler and was baptized in middle school years and was very, what I call, active in the church as a young adult with WMU. At that time it was YWA, and I went every Sunday, and Sunday church, went back for Sunday night, went on Wednesdays, and sang in the youth choir when I was in high school. Just the church was a big part of my, I'd say, growing up in those years, and met a lot of good, close friends in that church, and loved that church. So as a young person, the church has always held a big place in my heart, and because I grew up loving the church from there.
Now, going all those times, was it by chance because Ronnie was there too?
No, Ronnie and I, we did not meet until I was a junior in high school and he was a senior in high school.
Okay.
But we met on down. I went to, like I said, a public school, West Rome High School, and we had two high schools in the city at that time. We used to have one, it's called Rome High School, and that's what it's called now. But they split, it got real big, and they split and made two schools, West Rome High and East Rome High. Ronnie went to a private school, Darlington, in Rome, and we met, like I said, not until I was a junior in high school and he was a senior in high school.
Okay.
And he lived in Lindale, so we did not go to the same church.
Yeah, okay. All right, children?
I have
grandchildren?
3 children, Christy, Holly, and Ron. 8 grandchildren, McKay and Jack, and Hop, Max, and Annie, Trip, Crew, and Annie. Bella Kate, I'm sorry, put Annie in there twice. She takes up a lot of room.
Do you have an Annie story you need to tell?
No, that's too many for me to tell there. But, and they all live, of course, Chris and Holly live here in Jefferson, and Ron lives in Maysville. And very fortunate that they all live here and that we're able to see them on a regular basis. I told somebody not long ago, we were talking about it, and I said, sometimes it's a good thing, and it's sometimes I want to be on a slow boat to China. And, but it can be, as everybody that has children know, it's difficult times, but we all love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, when did you come to Jefferson?
Came to Jefferson in 1972, October. Let me back up and say, Ronnie and I, give a little more information about the two of us. We did meet when we were in high school and dated for 5 years before we got married. We finished high school and he went to Auburn, and I stayed in Rome and went to X-ray school, and I was an X-ray technologist, and that was my profession.
Okay.
And so we stayed in Rome. He graduated from Auburn in '68 of May. 2 weeks later we got married, moved to Jefferson. I moved to Athens in August for him to start law school. So we came from Athens to Jefferson after 4 years of being in Athens, and like I said, came here in October of '72.
Okay. So you've made your home here.
This is the only place other than Athens, this is the only place we've ever lived together as a couple.
Okay.
And while we were in Athens, we did go to Prince Avenue Baptist Church but most of the time, either I was working at the hospital or Ronnie was at the library studying on weekends.
Okay. Good deal. What are some of the things you've done after coming to the church here? What are some of the activities you've been involved in here?
The church?
Yes. And the community as well?
Well, a lot of different, in the church, just a lot of different things, from Sunday school with the little ones, nursery, WMU, several committees in the church I've served on. I was involved with the pageant since 2000, and last year decided to go as an ex officio for that. It was time for some young leadership to step in there. Been involved with the food bank since 2007. Worked in that and chaired that position for a while, and now I'm back as a worker, and like the food bank, and really like every organization I've been involved with in the church at different times, play a different role in who I am today.
What was the church like when you first came here?
Well, we had next door was a house, and that's where the offices and some of the Sunday school classes were in the house, in a white house where the playground, close to where the playground is now. And the fellowship hall was divided up. It was only half of it was fellowship hall, half of it was Sunday school classes for the little children. And across the hall in the storage room next to the bathroom was the nursery, a very small little nursery, but that's how that was when we came. And everything else, of course, we've done some renovation, updating here, but basically the sanctuary, is the same.
Your children go to preschool here?
They did, and Miss Hilda Corbett was their teacher, and every child that I know that she touched their lives, they loved her and she loved them. She was just a big part of my children's lives, and like I said, they all loved her tremendously.
Yeah, the preschool program started, I think, perhaps after you got here, and then evolved into the program it is today.
That's right. Yeah, it did. It's had a lot of workers, but like I said, Miss Hilda was here for years and years, but a lot of people have come and gone since then.
Well, one of your daughters is now the chairman of deacons, and I know you're proud of her for her part in that. But who were some of the strong women in the church when you first came here?
There's quite a few. Let's see. Joyce Etheridge, Stookie Bryan, Betty Bailey, Mary Alice Morton,
They carried the load.
Frances Ellington.
Yeah.
Those ladies have just, to me, that's what First Baptist Church was when I came. It is today. I mean, they've made it, I think, some of their leadership, it empowered me to be the person I am today. Seeing just their love for the church, their love for the people of the church, and their love for the community. But like I said, when the first time, we never went to another church besides here. And when we came to the church, everybody welcomed us. We felt welcomed and have never thought about going anywhere else. This is where we want to be. Todd Wilson was a preacher when we came.
Okay.
And I guess when it's the first that you've ever experienced together, or the very first you experienced, maybe you feel like that's the best one, or that's the one that you feel closest to. But he was here, and he took Ronnie and I in. Like I said, he was our pastor for the whole time he was here, and we just made a big impression on us. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the love that he instilled in us for the church and for God, it touched both of us, and mm-hmm. I think we've been a better person for it.
Where do you see the church going in the near future?
Well, I'm like everybody. I hope it's going to continue to grow. I think it's going through some slow process now. I think it's not just our church. I think a lot of churches go through this. The time that right now, I think trying to decide what's best for the church, whether we have 2 services, 1 services, or you trying to accommodate a lot of people, and I think the effects of that is going to hurt at times, but I think our church will continue to grow. We've had, since I've been here in 72, it's not always been, on the upscale. We've had our ups and downs with attendance and people coming and going, and I think with our leadership and with our young people as strong as they are, I think the ones that we have now that are coming, I see in them when I talk to them or I see them involved in the church that they really have a strong love for the church and for what they do. And I think they're instilling that in their children. And I hope that will continue to grow and they will continue to bring more people into the church.
Mm-hmm. You're in what Sunday school class?
Adult 3. No, is that what we are? We've changed several times, the Adult 3.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Adult 3 Sunday school class.
Well, to me, it's the best Sunday school class in the church. I think you can't ask for anything any better than
I hear a little bit of this back there, but like I said, we have a variety of ages in there, but we have such a close relationship in there that we all feel like family, and I think people coming in that we've had joined the last few years, I feel like I've known them for a lot longer. I feel like immediately they become part of our family with our Sunday school class. And we're always there to help each other, whether it's a meal, whether it's a card, whether it's a phone call, whether it's just a hug on Sunday morning. And I think that means so much, I think, does to me, and I think to people coming into the church, to feel that warmth that we have. And like this, it's not just our Sunday school class, it's others, they all have it. Of course, I'm gonna say ours is the best because that's where I am. But I think that all of our Sunday school classes have that feeling of family and feeling that they love each other and would do for each other whenever they are asked. The church motto is, it's all about relationships. The Sunday school class exhibits a certain amount of that. Do you see other areas in the church where it's all about relationships?
Well, I think probably every class, like I said, every class, or, excuse me, and the officers of the different committees or the people that are on the different committees, whether it's cabinet, deacon, whatever, I think we're all intertwined there through our Sunday school classes, through our deacons or cabinet or decorations committee. We all know each other, and to me, we're a church family. It's not just coming through the doors and on Sunday morning and going home. To me, this is my family. It's not just my church. This is my family.
That kind of leads me into something. You've had a significant health challenge in the last few years. What have you learned about your family, your church family, and yourself through that experience?
Well, first of all, I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. And I've always thought I'm a very strong person. I don't like to be sick. I don't like to have anybody wait on me. I don't have time for that. I've got other things I want to be doing. But sometimes God has a way of saying, no, you're not in charge. I am, and this is what you got to do for a while. So when I found I was sick, it was like I was in a fog. It's like, no, it's not really happening, but it does happen. And then I'm not one of those to question why this happened to me. I never said, why me? I just said, okay, this is something God has given me, handed to me, and I've got to make the best of it. And that's what I did from the time I found out I had it. I said, okay, what's the next thing we do? And it made me a stronger person in so many ways that, like I said, I learned a lot about myself that I need to sit back, take a step back and say what's important. I found out that my house, it didn't matter if my house was clean or not. I don't care, and I mean, that's a little thing for you. I mean, most men don't identify with that, but a woman does. And I always thought this had to be done, da da da. And now, if I can open the back door and get in, that's pretty good. Found that that's not the most important thing that just out there is to have a clean house. So that's just one of the little things. So now I really take time I think I enjoy my days a lot more than I used to. Whether it's I sit at home all day in the recliner with a blanket over my legs and not do much, or if it's whether I get up in the morning and start running and I'm busy all day long. I try to enjoy every day, and because God gave me another time to be here. It wasn't my time. I never felt that I was going to die from this cancer. I just never, a couple of times you say, well, golly, this could be this. And at different times I did think, well, it could be worse than it is, and it might get worse. But I never really thought God was ready for me to die right now.
Okay.
He may be in 5 years from now. He may be next year. It may be back. And I'm not one of those that I don't sit around and think, is it coming back tomorrow? Is it going to be back? If it is, it's going to be here, and there's not anything I can do about it. It's going to be there. So I don't let that consume my life, that I worry about that it's coming back. If it does, it does, and I will deal with it at that time.
Okay. Very good. I had a note down here to ask you who your personal hero was.
And then there again, a lot of this comes from my sickness, but Judy Mitchell was my special friend.
That's enough said. Enough said.
I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to do that. But anyway, she had so much courage. And she never, to me, said, why me? And she fought every day. And she had a great attitude. And she just went, if you knew Judy, and most, I'd say probably 3/4 of the room here knew Judy, or maybe half now knew Judy. She just went full speed ahead all the time. And so she never wavered from there. And like I said, she fought a lot of years, and so I would have to say.
She was a strong lady. I too remember Judy and the strength and the fight that she had as she was battling her difficulties as well. If we can change the temper here just a little bit, but there's always something funny, and you have a way of finding humor in things where some of us might have to look a little closer. But I was going to ask you, what's the most humorous thing you remember associated with the church?
That's funny, because anytime Ronnie and I talk about anything's ever said about it, if I'm in a group and anything's mentioned about something funny in the church, and Glenda probably knows what I'm getting ready to say. Years ago, Rufus Hooper, he always sat right over here on this side of the church. And if you knew Rufus, you loved him. He was just a superman. And at that time, at different times, the preacher would ask somebody to close with prayer. And he'd be standing down there, and after we'd sing our last hymn, and he would ask a member of the congregation to close with prayer. Well, that Sunday, he turned and he asked Rufus, would you close with prayer? And Rufus was probably like a lot of us at that point. Maybe his mind was 2 blocks away or whatever, but I remember him turning and saying, who, me? Of course, the church just fell apart, and everybody just laughed. But I think about that so many times, that as far as being in the congregation full, and Rufus Hooper making that statement to the preacher, it was funny.
What's the funniest thing you've seen one of the children do?
My children, or just anybody's children?
Take it where you want to.
Well, it was so funny. Tom, Brian, and Stookie always sat in front of us. And after my children got older and we couldn't sit on the side row, we moved to the middle row. And Tom, Brian used to just, he would just laugh at your children being up there doing things, and laugh. And I think, one time, one of mine, I think, was picking his nose, and he shouldn't, And of course, Tom just thought that was great. Well, after a few years, when Tom started having his own grandchildren come, they would get up here, and they were always, this is Phil and Susie's children, and most of the time they cried on the pew. They'd cry every Sunday. One of them was crying, sometimes 2 of them was. And of course, on the other side of Tom, and he was just, you could just see him just, oh, this is not happening to me. And then when they would get old enough to come up here, you could, and like I said, we sat behind Tom, and he would start off about like this in the pew. And then his children would be up there, and and before long, Tom's head was resting on the back of the pew. He was so far down in there, and I would say, Tom, that's your, of course, and things like that you don't forget. And I remember one time, Bill Knight, he sat over here on the side, and he was sitting, but we were about the fourth row back, and Bill and Marie was sitting behind us. And Ron was the one, he was always in the floor, moving. And at that time in the church, when my children were little, when you came in the door back there, you didn't giggle, you didn't laugh, you didn't move. You're supposed to sit in the pew for an hour and be still. Well, we were singing, and Ron was on the floor, and we're out, at our feet, whatever. Well, I just got my foot as hard as I could, and I just let him have it, just right as hard as I could. Because at the end, if I were to bend over, then everybody would see that I was getting on to Ron. Well, I just let him have it. Of course, as I was sitting back down, I felt this tap on the back of my shoulder. I thought, oh, and Bill said, I saw that, Judy. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't do that anymore because Bill was always watching me.
You've spent a lot of years working on the pageant. Is there a backstage story that you'd like to share?
Oh, yes, one. And bless his heart, he's no longer here today to defend himself. But Tom Bailey, when he was one, and he came in the first year he was going to be in the pageant, and we had told him, what they could wear and what they can't. You can't wear an undershirt with a collar on it because it's going to show out from under the top of your thing. Well, Tom came in, and Susie came in there. She said, Judy, come here. I said, well, she said, Tom's got on an undershirt, and he won't take it off. Come see what you can do about getting him to take it off. So I come in, I said, Tom, you can't wear the undershirt because your costume stops here, the undershirt's here. You got to take, I'm not taking it off. I said, well, if you don't take it off, I'm going to have to cut it. And he said, well, you just go ahead and cut it if you want to. So I got the scissors, and I cut a big old ring right out of his undershirt. And so, I thought, well, I can be just as stubborn as you can. Oh, that's a funny one. And then another one was let's see. Vernell's probably not going to appreciate me telling this. Pearl Wesley Johnson. I don't know why he even speaks to her today. We have to glue the beard on, the facial hair. Pearl Wesley. Vernell was been attempting to glue his beard, and she dropped the glue, and it spilled all. He didn't have a shirt on. Went all down the front of him, all over his arm. It just took hair and everything off. Got on his suit. Well, she didn't do it one time, but darn if she didn't do it again the next year. But he continued to be in the pageant with missing some of his facial hair and some of his body hair. Finally, I think we replaced that type of glue with something that doesn't remove hair off your body.
Yeah. Judy, you've done a marvelous job with this, and I'm sure everybody enjoys what you've done. But is there anything you'd like to add in closing?
Mm-hmm. No, other than just like I've said before, this is, I feel it's just, I call this my church. And it's because I have such a strong love for this church, and have since 1972. I love the people here. We've had a lot of wonderful people here, and have lost a lot of people over the years of sickness. But my heart continues to be full because of the people here. I've always felt loved and supportive, and I know that if it hadn't been for the love of this church, that my years here in Jefferson would not be as happy as they have been. Because I have said this my whole life since I've been in church here. I don't know how people exist without having a church family or a church that they can call their church. And of course, it's not my church, it's the people's church, it's God's church. But I don't know how people exist without that in their lives, because, you know, I have such, and today, the women in this church that are so strong, Glenda Blackstock, Brunel, just a lot of my dear friends, you know, the people that are still here, that are such leaders, that have just been such an influence on my life since I've been here. I don't know what life would be like without that, without the church. I can't imagine not being able to come to church and worship together, and have these people in this church in my life.
What a testimony. Thank you, Judy. We appreciate it.
Thank you.